So me and the man were sitting around the big parlor room. The man was half shit-faced. He was getting all emotional. Now, we started out, he was drinking bourbon. I was just sitting there. We were watching Larry David because he's doing research for his doctoral thesis. He's trying to get his doctorate at community college, which I'm not sure you can even do that. As far as I know, I'm just like a stupid dog. It only goes up to a associate's degree, but he thinks he's going to get his doctorate at the community college. But his doctoral thesis is that Larry David was cheating and he was plagiarizing himself and stealing ideas from the Jerry Seinfeld. And I'm a stupid dog. I'm like, he wrote them, so he can't. Is it really stealing if he wrote them to begin with, and he's just really repurposing them? The man is like, he's straight up plagiarizing, stealing, so whatever. Problem is, every time we do this, the man drinks way too much whiskey. He starts out sipping, he winds up guzzling, and he passes out. He doesn't even know what's going on. I'm his teacher's aide, so I'm sitting there trying to take notes and trying to figure out, really, it's all me. I'm the one who's trying to figure out if Larry David was stealing off himself. Anyways, while the man was passed out, I get watching this old, it's like antenna TV, but out here in Western Kentucky, it's called old school TV or something. There was this movie. It was an old movie. It was like almost black and white. It was starring Johnny Depp. And you know, when we do Johnny Depp stuff, it's really eerie and strange. In this particular case, I'm like a dog. I don't normally get emotional. I was getting all misty-eyed because Johnny Depp was playing this real conservative. He was wearing a lot of makeup. Back then, Johnny was younger, so he was playing this like 60-year-old guy or something, like 67-year-old guy, something about like that. He had crow's feet, wrinkles. He was older, but he was wearing makeup because Johnny was like probably 35 when he made this movie, or younger. Anyways, Johnny's playing this guy, and it turns out, at first I thought it was his son. I was like, this conservative dude. I was getting misty-eyed because this conservative old school guy was protecting his son. His son was a homosexual. I kind of came on the movie when it was like, a third of the way into it. About two-thirds of the way through, I'm like getting a little misty-eyed because I'm like, even though, he's old school and it doesn't jive with his beliefs and he's, whatever, he's sticking up for his boy. Well, it turns out at one point, somebody says, they're sitting on the porch smoking a doobie. They're talking about their characters. It's like one of them things where you do a montage, only it's just sitting there smoking a doobie. And the guy says, this is a story about a dad sticking up for his father, even though the dad's an old school, guy, and he's a little bit older and he's conservative, and his father turns out is a homosexual. And I was like, what? I thought it was the son who was I thought the dad was sticking up for his homosexual son. Turns out the dad's son was an Adonis. He was like scoring all over town. He was housing everything that moved. He'd walk out to his window like Rapunzel almost, letting down her hair. This guy would walk out, he'd smile, and all the girls would be out there below his window swooning, begging for him to come out and play kickball. Go take a swim at the public pool. Could you walk me to school and hold my books type of thing. Anyway, so it turns out, you're like, what? So the dad was sticking up for his father, who was a homosexual. It turns out Johnny Depp, who's playing like a 62-year-old guy, turns out his 81-year-old father comes out of the closet at the age of 81. And the man's like stacking Z's. He's like sound asleep. I was like trying to find out from somebody. I was like, what? I mean, how does this work? How does this even work? So Johnny Depp, he sticks up for his pops. He sticks up for his father when it comes out that his dad's gay. The father, that's the great-grandfather, the granddad to the Johnny Depp's boy. It turns out they're fishing one day. He comes out to the grandkid. It just was a really weird situation. But suffice to say, they started protesting. I kind of Googled it, or I looked it up on DMI or whatever you call it when you can read about movies, MDI, MID something. And it turns out this was a very protested movie, not back in the day, but when it would be shown on the repeats, it was protested because of like the 81-year-old guy, he came out when he was 81, it was too late for him to ever have no sex. And all the homosexuals were protesting the movie saying, the guy came out, que sera, but, he never had no sex. He died a virgin. He had kids, But in their eyes, he died a virgin because he never had sex with another man. He was a homosexual, a closeted homosexual. Finally came out when he's 81. I'm like, I'm here like stupid dog. I'm like, why you come out when you're 81? In this Johnny Depp movie, Well, anyways, this guy comes out to his grandkid. Then there's some kind of softball game that they're at their Italian restaurant, their favorite Italian restaurant. Somebody finds out that the granddad is gay. They're getting ready to beat him up. Johnny Depp steps up and he takes a chain out of the back of his station wagon, gets ready to whip everybody's ass. Said, "You leave my pops alone." So anyways, the crux of this weirdo, strange Johnny Depp movie was Johnny's playing a part of like a 61-year-old. His pops, his dad, comes out of the closet when he's 81, but the thing is, Johnny sticks up for him. It was making me misty-eyed. That part of it was making me misty-eyed because I was like, no matter what, you stick up for the family. You know what I'm saying? But then it got protested. A lot of people were mad at it because the whole point of this poor guy coming out when he's 81, he never got no sex. He died a homosexual virgin. So in the end of this movie, this guy dies as a homosexual virgin. He never had no sex with no other dudes, and the homosexuals in the latter days, they were mad because it seemed like somebody was saying something that wasn't right. It wasn't right to portray 80, when he died, he was like 83. When he came out, he was 81. It was wrong to portray 83-year-old, whatever you say, he died a homosexual virgin. He had kids and everything. And Johnny, that was how the movie ended. Johnny was looking in the mirror, hoping he's not a homosexual, wondering if he has any homosexual tendencies, wondering if the homosexual empiric gene was passed on to himself or to his boy. He sees his boy house and everything that moves. That part of the movie was kind of bad because you're like, hey, man, this day and age, you just can't have, indeterminate, all over the place premarital sex. That's not too cool, but whatever. Anyways, this was one of those really, really weird Johnny Depp movies. Doesn't even bear repeating, but it just struck me as really strange and eerie. The whole thing, the whole concept, it was flowing back and forth. You never knew what was going on. I was confused the whole time. I was getting misty-eyed. Then it was like a murder mystery and, a mystery where it finds out. But what didn't matter, but the final analysis was, hey, if you're going to make a movie, and I want to say it's not an immaculate homosexual, but this guy died as a virgin homosexual. And, you can think about it. You can think about it till you turn blue in the face. It's not going to change anything, but whatever.